What's up, guys? Matt Sheffield with AmericanMadeExotics here. I know you've seen plenty of videos where I'm coming in the incubator like that, but this one I'm not bringing eggs in. We had a couple people request just showing like how we set this incubator room up. So I'm gonna take the opportunity to just go ahead and run through the steps. It was very easy. You know, it's not a complex thing at all building an incubator. You just want a room that we're heating to 88 degrees. And that's what temperature we incubate our ball pythons at. Our stuff hatches a little bit later, but I feel like that's kind of in the middle of where the zone is, so there's a little bit more of a margin for error. You could cook them a little warmer and they'll hatch a little faster, but we just slow cook them here at 88. And all right, so let's go ahead and start with the simple steps here. So the main thing is going to be heating the room up. Now, you could do this for a room. It would still apply to like if you did the stand-up refrigerator with the glass door or a freezer or something like that. We've used a regular closet in the house before. And when we did this building, we just built it with a small room in it because we spent a lot of time checking the eggs. We figured if we could go up in the room, we could spend as much time in the incubator as we want and not worry about spiking temperatures or cooling the incubator down. So to start with the heat, we've tried a few different things over the years. And where we landed at was these ceramic heaters. So it's actually a piece of ceramic that has a heating element inside of it. And we have 4 of those. All 4 of them are on Bavarium Electronics thermostats set to proportional. And the reason we went with these and went with 4 of them is we started out with just one of the oil-filled radiator heaters, but it's insulated so good on this incubator that by the time it hit 88 degrees and the thermostat cut it off, the heater would be so hot that it would still heat the room up a couple degrees. And we didn't really like the fluctuation with it. So instead of going one heater and letting it get really hot to heat the room, I went with 4 different heaters, all in different probes. And it just kind of like nothing's ever running 100%. I got 2 fans down here, 1 on each side. So the air is always circulating on these heating elements here. And we put our probes, 4 probes, just dangling in the middle of the room. So that keeps everything kind of consistent. You can see lights flicking on and off. Nothing ever gets so hot that it continues heating the room up when it cuts off. So that's what we ended up going with. And then you can see right here, we have one of the old Ranco thermostats that we set to cool. And we set that to 88 degrees, but cooling instead of heating. So that right there goes to an inline fan just outside the incubator, because obviously we don't keep our room at 88 degrees. So if the Ranco probe, which we set kind of high, ever hits 88 or ever hits 89 degrees, it would kick the inline fan on and it would throw room temperature air in here, which is cooler than 88, and it would kind of cool the room down. It's probably not the most efficient way to do it as far as the electricity goes, but it's a good way to keep it very consistently. I would rather the heater be battling the fan and it just kind of both of them kicking on and off to hold it at 88 and the temperature just stays steady versus ever run the risk of it getting too hot. Okay, so just like we have the fans on the floor kind of blowing on these heating elements, we also have an inline fan at the top against the ceiling. And you could use any type of fan, but we have it so that it's sucking the hot air right off the top and it's blowing it straight down. So it's kind of set low right now while we're filming this video, because otherwise it's just like really loud. There's a ton of air moving in here, but we have that air flowing down that hits the floor and it's kind of circling back up like this, and it just keeps everything pretty even. We've tried different fans on the ceiling and stuff. One of the things is if you're putting a fan in, you've got to double check that the fan itself won't actually heat the room higher than your heaters. We found that a couple times when we were doing like the smaller little stand-up freezer type incubators. Certain fans would throw off enough heat to actually heat it without the heat tape and stuff being on. So we got the little LED light, again, touch on that one. Incandescents or some of the fluorescent ones would still throw off a little bit of heat. The LED is pretty cool. Another thing we have is we use these lacrosse thermometers, which will actually ping to my phone. So I can almost always look at my phone and I can see a table chart right here. You can see it's holding pretty steady at 87.5 degrees. So that's pretty cool to actually text your phone if it ever like swung too high or too low or something like that. So another thing would be the humidity that we get asked about is, do we keep this room humid or not? And we don't at all. It's actually pretty dry in here with the heaters running and all that. But that's not really a concern to us because you can see how we do our egg boxes here. We do substrateless, but we seal our eggs in the box. So I'll take this pressing seal, or take the lid off. You can see the pressing seal has got an airtight seal on this lid. So whatever moisture we put in the box is going to stay in the box the entire time we incubate it. So it doesn't matter that the room is dry because the egg box itself is humid. So pretty simple concept. Again, with the egg boxes, let me see if we got one that's about to hatch here that I can peel off. Okay, here's one that's probably going to hatch soon. Oh, yep, it's already hatching, so that's a great one to show you. Now you can see how we just have the egg crate sitting on these little cups. We put a hole in the bottom of the cup so when we fill it up, the air can still get out and it doesn't try to float. And we just sit the eggs right on top. Here's this little guy right here. So we're going to peel this off all the way since they're pipping. And we'll be back to set them up on paper towels in a minute. Once stuff starts pipping, we usually put it in a different box. We'll put it on just wet paper towels while we're waiting for them to pip. Here's the clutch right here that we had moved to a different box. Now you can see one of them's out all the way. Everything else is already pipping. So, you know, we go ahead and cut these once they start coming out like this. Which we've had them come out in the other box and they'll just kind of hang out on the egg crate or get in the water. It's no big deal. But when we see it, we just put them on the paper towels. When they come out, everything's nice and clean. They got a nice, soft, wet surface to be on. Very simple. Like I said, my stuff takes usually day 58 to 61 to start pipping. We incubate a little cooler, so it takes a little bit longer. But other than that, I mean, you could fit it any way you wanted. We use these adjustable shelves to match the boxes that we use. As you can see right here, we just hung the bracket on the wall, and you could set those little brackets to be whatever height you wanted to. Or you could get one of those baker racks or any type of wire shelf that you can just to keep the airflow moving on all sides of the eggs. But it's such a simple concept that it's just very easy. You could turn any box that's insulated into an incubator as long as you can get some air circulation and you have a way to put a heat source in it that you can control to be whatever temperature you want. So if you have an extra closet in your house, you want to build it yourself, frame out a little room like we did, you have a stand-up freezer or fridge that you want to convert, whatever space you have that's an insulated box, you could turn it into an incubator as long as you incorporate those few simple ingredients. But the main thing is just utilizing good thermostats that you trust and also having a backup thermometer so you can keep an eye on your temperatures. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. It's just such a simple concept. But again, if I missed anything or anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Hopefully I touched on all the pieces that people were asking me about, and this will help somebody out. But again, it's very easy. Once you grasp the concept, all you're trying to do is heat a box up to 88 degrees, and that's really it. And these things are pretty hardy. As long as you do that, you'll be able to successfully hatch ball python eggs. So I appreciate y'all watching. Until the next one.